Hey guys, it's me Naz and I'm going to watch a catapulting video which is 10 WWE stars who refuse to work with another wrestler. Now, for instance, there is a lot of, whether if it's the veterans at one point who didn't want to work with other wrestlers, whether if it caused any backstage type of lead to fights or politics, or it led to other situations where, okay, I can't fight this dude because he's too, too amateur, not too experienced and all that stuff. But or maybe at some point, personal hatred outside of the wrestling circle or the wrestling ring in general. But we will get to know more, and I could give one example, which is like Stone Cold did it, put over Brock Lesnar at the King of the Ring tournament. That was happened at the time when Brock was still young and upcoming to become the next big star. Stone Cold was already established. So of course at that point, for Stone Cold, he believed that it wouldn't work for him. Another one would be Hulk Hogan, which is another person that's like, it's not gonna, accept any type of things for him, brother, or whatever it may call. But there are a lot of wrestlers throughout the past who have this influence of politics in order to make sure that they were never gonna work regardless of who the character might be. So let's get into the video to see if there are other wrestlers who didn't want to refuse and to know what's the reason behind it.
For a WWE match angle or storyline to be effective, the stars involved need to work together in a cooperative manner. This is typically how things go. After all, they are professional wrestlers and will do their best to work with whoever they are partnered with. On rare occasions, however, a WWE star will, for one reason or another, flat out refuse to do business with one of their contemporaries. This has, in the past, led to WWE scrapping some major plans, effectively robbing fans of some potentially epic matches and moments that never ended up happening. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE stars who refuse to work with another wrestler. Join us. Number 10, Steve Austin with Marc Mero. Marc Mero and Steve Austin had worked together before, back when they were Stunning Steve and Johnny B. Bad in WCW, and shortly after both men made their WWE debuts in 1996. By May of '98, however, things were a little bit different. Stone Cold was the world champion and the biggest star in the business, while Marvelous Mark was a hated mid-card heel warring with his wife Sable. With a surprising dearth of heel challengers for Austin to wrestle, WWE creatives suggested that Mero step into the spot. The Texas Rattlesnake was tentatively on board until Mero was hit with a Sable Bomb on an episode of Raw. After seeing his would-be dance partner get beaten up by his missus, Austin put the kibosh on the proposed feud and continued working with Dude Love instead. The Wild Man was well aware that allowing himself to be Sable-bombed had cost him a run with the top guy, but Mark, the actual most positive person on the planet, said that he understood Austin's perspective and wouldn't have changed anything as it got his wife more over. And then she got more under Brock Lesnar, but what are you going to do? Number 9, John Cena with Jack Swagger. Of course, Steve Austin wasn't the first or last top guy to use his influence to get out of working with somebody he didn't want to. Because when you're the person the whole company is built around, it gives you a lot more clout to veto creative suggestions, John Cena was no exception, and though he doesn't quite have the same reputation for backstage politicking that some of his predecessors do, he was also not immune from saying no to certain angles, storylines, and matches. According to Jack Swagger, Big Match John gave a big fat nope when Vince McMahon asked him to drop the WWE title to the All-American American on the post-WrestleMania 26 episode of Raw. Swagger did tease cashing in his newly won Money in the Bank briefcase on Cena, but was unsuccessful. A few days later on SmackDown, however, he followed through and pinned Chris Jericho to become WWE World Heavyweight Champ. When recounting Cena's refusal years later, Swagger questions Cena's reputation as the most unselfish top guy in wrestling history. But you know what? I think history has shown that Cena was probably right to turn this one down. Number 8, Ken Shamrock with Chyna. One of the big success stories of the Attitude Era was the incredible rise of Chyna. Having debuted in WWE as the stoic bodyguard of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the Ninth Wonder of the World went from strength to strength as a member of DX, and then as a fully fledged single star who became the only female Intercontinental Champion in WWE history. One of the things that got Chyna so over was, of course, her ability to mix it up with the guys, and it wasn't an uncommon or shocking sight to see her bag victories over her male counterparts. Some members of the locker room were not happy to get in the ring with Chyna, however, including Ken Shamrock. Though he had had brief interactions with Chyna before, the world's most dangerous man balked at the prospect of working a full-fledged program with her. Shamrock understood that it was sports entertainment, but was concerned about confusing his children after instilling in them a respect for women. Ken said that he refused to work with Chyna in a respectful way, and there was no major heat afterwards, though he may have been asked a job a few times before ultimately deciding to quit the company.
And it's like that, like, it's a different time period. It's got a bit like, okay, he wouldn't do anything against China because, of course, like, his kids are watching, but, like, again, it just happened, like, it's a different time period, but at some point, I do get the situation why he has that feeling.
Number 7, Diesel with the Ultimate Warrior. WrestleMania 12 marked the return of the Ultimate Warrior, making his first WWE appearance since acrimoniously leaving the promotion almost 4 years prior. After squashing Triple H at the Showcase of the Immortals, the plan was for Warrior to get a strong push with some decisive victories over top stars. According to Kevin Nash, one of those was supposed to be Diesel. Big Daddy Cool was finishing up his commitments before heading to WCW and asked Vince McMahon if there was anybody he wanted him to do a favor for while he still had him under contract. McMahon asked Nash to put Warrior over, but he refused, citing his belief that Jim Hellwig wasn't really one of the boys and wouldn't appreciate Nash doing it for him. Diesel instead stared at the ceiling for The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at house shows and lost to the Heartbreak Kid in his last televised appearance. Many years later, Nash and Warrior, which was his actual legal name by that point, beefed after trading insults on social media, which led to Big Kev challenging him to a shoot fight. Number 6, The Rock with Shawn Michaels. This might come as a shock to fans who only know Shawn Michaels as the cuddly, cross-eyed granddad of NXT, but the Heartbreak Kid was once a world-class prick before he temporarily left the business and found Jesus, along with his missing son.
It's true, because back then he was really an a-hole, but, things have changed when they, for years to come for him to finally, becoming the good guy as what it was back then. So, yep, it's a wild, past to remember all those type of things.
Smile. If you don't believe me, and why wouldn't you, then just ask Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Go on, give Dwayne a call, he'll tell you all about it. Because not only did Michaels disrespect the Great One's grandmother back when she was promoting shows in Hawaii, but he also endeavored to make a young Rocky Maivia life miserable soon after Johnson arrived in WWE.
And that's the thing, because The Rock was basically the next, guy besides Austin. So it's like, we get the jealousy, so it is what it is, man.
It's well known that Shawn and his D-Generation X running buddy Triple H conspired to make sure the Blue Chipper didn't advance up the card. How'd that one work out for you, lads? When the born-again HBK returned in 2002, there were talks about booking him with The Rock in a first-time-ever dream match. In response, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment told WWE to take their idea, shine it up real nice, turn that sumbitch sideways and stick it right up, well, you know where. Number 5, Steve Austin with Jeff Jarrett. As we saw earlier with the nixed Mark Mero proposal, when Steve Austin got to the top of the industry, he certainly wasn't shy when it came to looking out for his best interests. Marvelous Mark wasn't the only person Austin declined to work with during that period, as Stone Cold also passed on a match with Billy Gunn since it had no storyline purpose, and a program with Jeff Jarrett. Double J was a favourite of head writer Vince Russo, who had designs on elevating him to main event heel status. So surely a feud with Austin would be the ticket, right? Go punch your ticket somewhere else, kid. Austin was against working a program with Jarrett for numerous reasons, including long-standing heat with Jeff and his promoter dad Jerry Jarrett from when Austin worked the USWA as a rookie. Austin basically felt like he was treated badly by both men. The Texas Rattlesnake also wasn't exactly thrilled with a shoot-style promo the Chosen One had cut on him on his first night back in WWE after jumping from WCW, and told Russo in no uncertain terms that he wasn't going to be doing anything besides a one-off Stone Cold Stunner segment with Double J. Number 4, Brock Lesnar with Bray Wyatt. With his part-time, high-paying contract and ability to, by and large, pick and choose who he wanted to work with and when, Brock Lesnar for a long time had the best deal in wrestling. Typically, what Brock wanted, Brock got, using his sway to, for example, have AJ Styles beat Jinder Mahal for the WWE title so that he could work with the Phenomenal One rather than the modern-day Maharaja at Survivor Series 2017. Another WWE star that Lesnar didn't fancy working with was Bray Wyatt. It felt like the next big thing in the Eater of Worlds were on a collision course for WrestleMania 32 back in 2016, but Brock ended up working with Dean Ambrose at the granddaddy of them all. Fast forward 7 years, and Lesnar was specifically asked about wrestling Wyatt at Mania 39. This time, Brock gave the thumbs down, with reports suggesting that it was not a personal issue, rather the Beast feeling that the Bray character wasn't a good match stylistically for him. Lesnar ultimately wound up wrestling Omos at Mania, while Wyatt, who was scheduled to wrestle Bobby Lashley, missed the show due to health issues. Number 3, Hulk Hogan with Jake Roberts.
Well, to be honest, it would be fun between Brock and Bray, but we already know what happened to Bray, and God rest his soul.
There have been many instances, exaggerated or otherwise, of Hulk Hogan apparently pulling the "he doesn't work with me, brother" card.
Yep.
Thing is, everybody wanted to work with the Hulkster at one time because Hogan was pure box office and a run with the Golden Goose was guaranteed to be lucrative. Jake Roberts was certainly hoping for a run with Hogan, and on paper, it looked like a natural good versus evil program between two polar opposite characters. However, after a section of fans chanted DDT and cheered Jake during a Snake Pit segment, which didn't end up airing, Vince McMahon started to get cold feet. The two men did work a few house shows together in December of '86 and January of '87, with Hogan later claiming that their styles didn't mesh well and he decided to quickly move past things rather than try and work out the kinks with Roberts. Hulk went back to working with Kamala on the road, while the Snake turned babyface shortly after. Even now, decades later, Roberts still laments that Hogan didn't want to try and make their feud work. Number 2, CM Punk with Triple H. CM Punk was not a happy camper in January of 2014. Beat up, burned out, and creatively unsatisfied, to name just 3 of his many grievances, the straight-edge superstar had reached his breaking point, and during a meeting with Vince McMahon and Triple H prior to the January 27th edition of Raw, he passionately outlined the reasons why he was about to walk out. During his tirade, he let the game know that he really didn't want to work with him at WrestleMania as planned. Recounting the scene during his infamous appearance on the Art of Wrestling podcast, Punk claimed that he told Triple H, "I do not need to wrestle you. You need to wrestle me. I do not want to wrestle you. I seriously resent you for not putting me over 3 years ago when you should have." Crikey, tell us how you really feel, mate. Not only was a match at Mania with the Cerebral Assassin not a reason to continue soldiering on, the mere idea of it was one that Punk was dead set against and a contributing factor to his decision to leave the company. Number 1, Hulk Hogan with Bret Hart. Bret Hart might have been miffed at the red and yellow cucking he received from Hulk Hogan at the end of WrestleMania 9, but he gritted his teeth and got on with things because he knew that he had a feud with the Hulkster to look forward to several months down the line. After all, Vince McMahon himself had promised the Hitman that he would wrestle and beat Hogan for the world title at SummerSlam. And would Vince McMahon ever tell a lie? Yes, the answer is obviously yes. And Hulk Hogan would, of course, pull out his trusty "he doesn't work with me, brother" card once again. Because while Bret had been led to believe he would get the belt back by taking down Hogan in the pay-per-view headliner, Terrible Terry balked at the idea of passing the torch to another babyface, especially one that was considerably smaller than him. Thus, plans changed and Hogan dropped the world title back to Yokozuna at King of the Ring, a move that enraged the excellence of execution and led to a long-standing grudge between the two men while eroding Hart's relationship with Vince. Bret, mate, if you feel like McMahon screwed you here, well, just you.
Hey guys, All I can say is that it just happened that there will be wrestlers that depends on how powerful one person is and how he influenced backstage, willing, willing to work with other people because of those type of issues. And we never thought that, some people had this type of, grudge against others, and some, they felt like, oh, because it's not too personal, but because they prefer the actual person or based on who they want to choose, and that's how it is in the wrestling business. But hope for the best that in the near future, we hope that there will be no other wrestlers who will be like this. I'm sure there are some in the future, but not too much of this because sometimes you're paid to do the orders in order for you to wrestle with someone, and it's up to you if you want to do it or not, but you have to at least understand that they gave you something and you have to fight against this person, which you have to. Unless if the person you face is not a good guy or not a good worker, then it's okay, you can at least convince. But that's how it is in any type of organization, not just wrestling but others as well. But that's how it would be, and again, it's just like that, that's just life. All I can say, guys, is that thank you for watching, and we will see each other in the next one. Peace.